Republicans are revolting and Trump is triggered. Specifically, we have Republicans siding with Democrats in an effort to stop the tariffs on Canada. My name is Dina Doll with Legal AF channel. Let's break this down. So as we know, Trump has been starting this trade war with Canada, one of our closest allies and friends to the north, for seemingly no reason. He started this way back in January, and specifically, he did it through an executive order in February. In this executive order, he basically declared a national emergency, not just with respect to Canada, but Mexico and China, also saying that he needed to stop the flow of drugs and crime, and that this was necessary to declare a state of emergency, essentially. And since then, he has been using the tariffs, he says, as a way to try to get Canada to stop the flow of fentanyl. Of course, those of us who are paying attention to the facts know there is no such thing as this vast flow of fentanyl from the Canadian border through to the United States. In fact, I think they said only 1.5 tons were even recovered at the border in these last months. So clearly, this is a pretext. And so Democrats are going directly to that pretext. And Senator Tim Kaine introduced a bill in the Senate under the National Emergency Act saying, basically ending the emergency in order for Trump not to be able to impose these tariffs as a punishment under the emergency, which he is trying to do. Now, we have Republicans willing to endure the wrath of Trump, let's say, and seem to be siding with the Democrats in this bill. Specifically, you have Senator Rand Paul, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, and Mitch McConnell. All evidently are going to be siding with the Democrats in order to try to pass this resolution in the Senate. And of course, this has brought out the ire of Trump, because anybody who dares to try to cross him, he decides to punish in a social media post. And specifically, this is what he says. It's long and rambling. We'll try to get through quickly, but he says, Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, and Rand Paul, also of Kentucky, will hopefully get on the Republican bandwagon for a change and fight the Democrats' wild and flagrant push to not penalize Canada for the sale into our country of large amounts of fentanyl by tariffing the value of this horrible and deadly drug in order to make it more costly to distribute and buy. Again, completely manufactured problem on his part. He goes on to say they are playing with the lives of the American people and right into the hands of the radical left Democrats and drug cartels. Interestingly, of course, the person who's playing with the lives of the American people was, of course, Trump, specifically with him trying to cut people's health care and cut research into life-saving care. Never mind the fact that the reason why drug cartels have so many guns is because Americans manufacture and import those guns. But, this is what he's saying. So we continue in his post. He says, the Senate bill is just a ploy of the Dems to show and expose this weakness of certain Republicans, namely these four, and that is not going anywhere because the House will never approve it. And Isaiah, your president, will never sign it. And maybe this is true, but at least they are doing something. Democrats are saying, stand up and do something. And they are doing something. And the more the American people get behind that something, that's how you create change. So his post continues to say, why are they allowing fentanyl to pour into our country unchecked and without penalty? Of course, not true again. What is wrong with them other than suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, commonly known as TDS? I have to say, when I first heard that, I really thought that had to do with his followers. Not quite sure how they think that's an insult to Democrats. Anyway, let's continue. Who can want this to happen? To our beautiful families and why? To the people of the great states of Kentucky, Alaska, and Maine, please contact these senators and get them to finally adhere to Republican values and ideals. And I say, if you live in those states, contact your senators and tell them how much you support their vote on this bill. The post goes on, they have been extremely difficult to deal with and unbelievably disloyal to hardworking majority leader John Thune and the Republican Party itself, Make America Great Again. Okay, so his usual trigger, but he is triggered because people are daring to cross him. And yes, this is not enough people, but there is a start. And if they do indeed pass this bill, it is a message specifically to Canada that they still have friends and allies here, and that it is Trump and the MAGA party that is a problem and not all of the United States. Because the fact of the matter is that the Trump White House continues to talk about Canada as being the 51st state. I cannot imagine a more offensive and disrespectful way to speak about a sovereign nation that is your ally and shares a border, but they continue to do this. And Canadians are responding. They're responding by not buying American goods, and they're responding by traveling. Because it turns out Canadian tourists are the number one tourists to the United States, and they are canceling their travel plans. The flights from Canada to the United States are evidently down 70%. And they predict that this year, the tourism in the United States from Canada is going to be down 15%. And according to the data collected, a 10% drop in tourism will result in 14,000 lost American jobs and a cost of $2.1 billion to the economy. This is just specifically about tourists. Tourists not coming because of the offensive way he talks about them becoming the 51st state. We're not even talking about the cost of the tariffs, the retaliatory tariffs, the trade war that he's starting seemingly because of his ego and for no other reason. The way he so carelessly sees the American economy, American jobs, and so carelessly sees the relationship with Canada. So we have a Republican revolt. These Republican senators seemingly willing to stand with Democrats to pass a bill to end the national emergency that Trump declared as a pretext to go after Canada. My name is Dina Doll with the Legal AF channel. We will be sure to break down all developments in this and others on the channel here.
I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.